Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about push notification. So in this video series, I'm going to create a Ruby on Rails app from scratch. So basically, this app will able to send notification to user who subscribe to our push notifications. So for push notification, it makes out of two parts. One is a push API and one is notification API. So for these two works, it requires effort from the front end and the back end. So for notification API, it does not necessarily need a push API to work, but it makes no sense to make a notification API without a push API. So push basically is from the server to send something to the user's web browser to inform them that something happened at their web browser when they are away or something like that. And then for this notification API, it just pops out on your phone. So it's something very cool for a web. And I'm gonna do it in a Ruby on Rails app. So the browser support is okay. It covers the most of the Chrome and the Firefox, which means out of most of the web browser, and it supports on Android Chrome. But sadly, it does not support on iOS devices and Safari. It does not support. So it could be uh, something that you should take in consideration. However, there's something in Safari that we can use. It's called Safari push notifications. But I'm not talking about this. I just let you guys know there's something exists at this. If you guys want to do this, also it's possible, but it runs on different standard than mine. What I'm doing right now. Okay, so this what the big picture view on how web push push notification work. So first on the web app, the user need to accept to the notification request from our plain JavaScript. In our plain JavaScript, we need to ask user to accept to prompt up. Okay, so the service worker which runs on the other thread than the typical JavaScript thread. So this service worker, it won't die even though the the browser tab was closed. The service worker will be always running, so it's possible to make a push API with this method. So as you can see, there's two server up there. So this what I'm trying to tell is that it's not necessary to have one server to have a push API. So you can separate itself out. So you can make two server, and you can send an API call to the other server, and the other server will send the Fs to the fcm.google APIs. That's for Google Chrome. In Mozilla, it's the other URL. So they send with a web push protocol into the respective browser provider, and the browser provider will send a push into the service worker, and the service worker will send a notification to the user. So it doesn't matter you're using a multi-page application or single-page application, it will work. So it just depends on how you set up everything. So the requirement for making the front end works is that you need to have SSL, meaning that HTTPS, but localhost is an exception for debugging. So right now we are using a localhost, so it should be this issue won't be too much. So you need to have a minimum setting on the manifest.json, and the user have to accept the notification, which makes sense because if the user does not accept the notification, meaning that we cannot send them notification if they block us. So if they don't accept, we have nothing much to do. Okay, so this is a sample of manifest.json file. So it needs our name, short name, start URL, icons. It's just like when you're making any iOS app, you need to state out how the size looks like. So prerequisite for this video series is that you need to know modern JavaScript because I've used a lot of promises and a fetch API. So first, I need to talk about generating a VPID key. So before I start this video series, I'm going to separate this into a front end, a back end. Right now we are talking about the setting up. So first we need to use a VPID. VPID is a JWT token that carry information for encryption. For the push API to work, you need to follow this standard called VPID. So the transaction is called claim. You can see this is how the JSON file looks like, and there's a source if you want to read more about the VPID. This is more on like authentication. I know how to apply it, but I don't know really deep about it because this is more on crypto. It's more encryption. Okay, so before we start, we need to generate a web push gem. So to generate a web push gem, to have a web push gem works, because we need, using web push, we need to generate two keys. Uh, as I said, the VP keys, one is for public, one is private. So it works just like something like a SSH. That you have a public key and a private key. So the public key you can make it to a server, and the private key you keep it for yourself. So right now, I was just gonna save it to env file. So I make a demo on how it works. So I just clean it up. Okay. So you need to run gem install web push. Okay. Since I already installed, so I can just straight away in my browser. You can type IRB for Ruby console, but I'm using Cry. It's with syntax highlighting. It looks nicer. So I just require web push. Okay. So when web push is included, you just call the web push.generate. Before that, I need to save the output of it to the end, generate key, and it generates the key. To get out the key, simply just public key. This is a public key, and oops, and that's your private key. So these two needs to be saved into your .env, because you don't want to deploy it in production. You want to simply just save it. So you can see I save it as a public VP public key and VP private key. So we have done setting up for this project. And in the next, before I end this video, I'm just gonna show a very quick demo on. I'm gonna show a very quick demo on how it works. So first and foremost, I need to unsubscribe myself from notification to show that it works. So this is a final project that it's very simple. So when I first loaded this page, it asked me whether I want to accept for notification. When I allowed, so I can subscribe to it using this sub. So this is subscribe to my backend. Okay, so on the backend, I can simply just wait 1 second. Okay, and oh, I can simply just send something, and then you see it works. You see this is a title, it works. So it runs on background, so it pushes. So you can try it again, testing, but I think I'm over it. So just close it. So you see it works, it's sending a testing. Okay, so that's all for the video today. Further on, I'm going to talk about how do you do the front end, how do you do the back end with Ruby on Rails.